You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now. A critical failure in Puerto Rico's power grid, leaving millions in the dark. The long-running frustration now reaching its peak. Plus, an abnormally cold start to 2025. The polar vortex unleashing freezing temperatures across almost half of the nation. And new year, new goals. How to make sure your resolutions actually stick this time around. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. As we come on the air, millions are blowing their party horns and toasting champagne as they ring in the new year. We want to give you a live look over Berlin, where just moments ago the ball dropped. Also officially in 2025 right now is Paris, Madrid, Rome, and dozens more locations across Europe and North Africa. As for the United States, in just 6 short hours, it'll be New Year, a new year for those of us in the eastern part of the country. Hawaii and Alaska will be last to celebrate, almost about 5 hours after the ball drops in New York City. In NYC, last-minute preparations underway right now by local authorities, with security heightened in the lead up to the festivities. 1 million people are expected to crowd into Times Square. Police are deploying officers, horses, dogs, boats, and drones. But at this time, there are no specific credible threats against the event. The Treasury Department says Chinese hackers have breached its systems in what's been classified as a major cybersecurity incident. The National News Desk's Atrel Nashar has the details from Washington.
A cyber attack at the U.S. Treasury Department. Intelligence officials say the culprit is China. In this letter sent to leaders of the Senate Banking Committee Monday, the Treasury says it was notified on December 8th by third-party software provider Beyond Trust that a threat actor gained access to a key used by the vendor to secure a cloud-based service used to remotely provide technical support for the department. The hackers gained access to employee workstations and unclassified documents. And based on available indicators, the incident has been attributed to a China state-sponsored advanced persistent threat actor. The breach is troubling, but unfortunately not surprising.
China's hacking program is larger than that of every other major nation combined.
That was the director of the FBI back in February. Since then, U.S. intelligence officials have disclosed more about 3 Chinese state-sponsored hacking operations the U.S. government calls Volt Typhoon, Flax Typhoon, and Salt Typhoon. Officials say that last one, Salt Typhoon, is responsible for what may be the largest telecommunications hack in American history. President-elect Trump's nominee for Secretary of State, Senator Marco Rubio.
It is an egregious, outrageous, and dangerous breach of our telecommunications systems, a vulnerability that no one imagined or anticipated.
Just days ago, Verizon and AT&T said they were breached by Salt Typhoon, but their networks are now secure. As of now, it's not known, at least publicly, if Salt Typhoon is behind the Treasury hack. China denies involvement in any of it. Here on Capitol Hill, there's robust bipartisan interest in addressing Chinese cyber threats, but there's one problem. Hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity jobs across the country remain vacant. The need is so great, one lawmaker compared it to the need for soldiers in World War I.
It was a call to action that was born out of a time of national crisis. And it was a call that Americans answered. We find ourselves in a similar moment today.
This crisis involves a new kind of warfare and a new type of enemy operating on digital front lines. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atrel Nashar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
We now know the identity of the woman who was burned to death inside a New York City subway car. Police say 57-year-old Debrina Coam from Toms River, New Jersey, is the victim based on a DNA analysis.
Our hearts goes out to the family, a horrific incident to have to live through. And, just watching that tape, I couldn't even watch it all the way through. It was just a bad incident, and it impacts on how New Yorkers feel.
The man accused of setting her on fire remains in custody, Sebastian Zepeda. He's been indicted on murder and arson charges. Zepeda is from Guatemala and entered the U.S. illegally. And on New Year's Eve, when city lights are supposed to be shining bright, a crippling power outage in Puerto Rico has left 90% of its population in the dark. More than 1.3 million power customers are not receiving any energy from the grid. An underground power line failure is reportedly to blame for that. It could take up to 2 days to fully restore power to the island. The outage has disrupted travel plans for so many visitors at this very, very exciting time of year. The airport is operating on a generator, but delays and cancellations are expected. The grid has needed considerable repairs after years of neglect and the devastation of Hurricane Maria.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's South Korea there. That country scaling back its New Year's Eve celebrations in the wake of a deadly plane crash on Sunday that killed 179 people. Experts are questioning whether the design of the runway at Guam International Airport played a role in the crash. They're looking into what the plane slammed into, the airport's localizer, a concrete fence housing a set of antennas to guide aircraft during landings. South Korean authorities say the embankment was built according to regulations, but some experts say using concrete instead of metal or pylon was unusual. The city of Austin, Texas, moving ahead with plans to honor former President Jimmy Carter's work in the new year. The city will host Habitat for Humanity's annual Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project.
We'll have over 4,000 people in the last week in October, over 800 people a day out there building 25 homes for our workforce in Austin.
The former president died on Sunday at his home in Georgia, but leaves behind a large legacy of community service, including with the group Habitat for Humanity. President-elect Donald Trump, he's calling on Republicans to counter any attempts to delay the confirmation of his nominees. In a Truth Social post today, Trump claims Senate Democrats are planning to stall the process. Senate confirmation hearings are expected to begin next week. A majority of senators will need to confirm Trump's cabinet picks. Trump's pick to lead NASA says the U.S. must lead the modern space race. But China is currently on track to beat U.S. missions headed for not only the moon, but also Mars. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joins us from Washington with the latest.
Donald Trump tapping commercial astronaut and tech billionaire Jared Isaacman to shepherd the U.S. space program for the next 4 years.
And I've been an aviation and space enthusiast since kindergarten.
Isaacman has close ties to Elon Musk and Musk's company SpaceX, traveling to space twice on SpaceX missions. This raising concerns of a possible conflict of interest because if confirmed, Isaacman will head the institution responsible for awarding contracts worth billions to SpaceX and its competitors. Isaacman would take over as the space race with China accelerates. The powers competing to put humans back on the moon, establish long-term moon bases, and have soil samples from Mars returned to Earth.
I think it's imperative that we are first in that regard and that we lead the way.
But the U.S. is at risk of losing all of these. Earlier this month, NASA postponed its moon missions again, now saying the earliest we'll see an American walk on the lunar surface will be 2027. If these delays continue, China could get there first. The CCP on track to put boots on the moon in 2030.
By any way that you could possibly measure it, right now the United States is the #1 space power. But coming up fast is China.
China also pulling ahead in the Mars race with missions set for 2028. NASA's Mars mission likely won't happen until after 2030.
Anything that NASA is planning right now is just going to be too slow. So in order to really accelerate that, NASA's going to have to think outside of the box.
This comes as the GOP remains laser focused on where they can cut government funding, not increase it, leaving a tricky field for the next leader of NASA to navigate.
Space has been a very divided topic going back to the space race. Why are we sending people to the moon when we have so many problems here at home?
Isaacman points out the United States is entering a new era of space where the necessary funding for these projects can come through private and commercial endeavors. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Kayla, thank you. This just in, illegal border crossings dropped to their lowest level of Biden's term in November. New data showing there were 94,000 border encounters. That is down roughly 12,000 from October and well short of the peak, which was over 300,000 last December. The Biden administration has cracked down on illegal immigration in the face of political pressure. Trump vows to be more aggressive. Coming up, counterfeit cash is ending up in the hands of unsuspecting shoppers. What you need to know to make sure this doesn't happen to you. Then why there are more heart attacks at this time of year and what you can do to keep yourself healthy. And later, reaction from Amazon employees being forced to return to the office full time in the new year. We'll be A polar vortex is headed for the United States this January, bringing extreme cold and storm threats. Meteorologists predict the first round will produce a wintry mix across the New England area just as 2025 gets underway. The East Coast could then get significant winter storms from around the 6th to the 14th, along with parts of the Southeast, which could see below freezing temperatures and dangerous wind chills. Frigid air could lead to power outages in those southern states. Temperatures possibly going as low as 35 degrees below the average. At least some of the information stolen in a Rhode Island data breach is now on the dark web. That's according to Governor Dan McKee, who said IT teams are working to find out what was in those files. The state previously estimated hundreds of thousands of people had their data stolen by a ransomware group. The state is now working to identify the victims.
What did the state do to try and prevent this data from being released, or was it left entirely up to Deloitte and their discretion?
All the discussions that were directly on that issue or any other issue in terms of direct contact with the cyber criminals was done by Deloitte.
And tonight, police in Utah are investigating after several counterfeit bills were used at a Walmart on Christmas Eve. When someone used the fake money to check out, the bills were then given to several other customers as change. The National News Desk's Leslie Duarte reports from Layton tonight on how you can spot that counterfeit cash.
In a time when paying with physical cash is becoming less common, it's easy to miss counterfeit money.
I've only run into it once at our office, and I missed it.
Leanne Wynn says a few years back she fell victim to a counterfeit at her job.
Someone paid with a $100 bill, and we just took it. And then when I took it to the bank to deposit, they said, "This is counterfeit." And I said, "Oh, okay, what do I do now?"
Counterfeit cash is getting harder to detect, says Mary Woodard at Granite Credit Union. What should people be looking out for?
So there's some quick things that can help people. One of them is the texture of money. The texture of money, real bills, they're kind of rough. This is the 100. There's a security thread right there. And you can read it, and it says USA 100. If you see that, that's a good indicator that this is a true $100 bill.
She says people should also check that the watermark face matches the printed face on the bill.
If this face is, say it's Abe Lincoln, the 5, right, or Hamilton, this is, that there's something wrong.
And for businesses that commonly handle cash, Woodard says there are other tools to help people spot fake bills.
20 is honestly one of the most common counterfeited bills, unfortunately. There's also a security thread. When you hold it up to the light, it's over here far to the left, and it says USA 20. And when you put it under the light, it glows green.
Well, staying on your money, your wallet may not be feeling the lowering inflation, but some everyday products actually dropped in price this year. Overall prices were up 2.5% from January through November, but a number of items cost less. Home heating oil during this time was down 17% during that period. Gasoline was down 7.6%. Consumer technology dropped 6.7%. Also lower right now, clothing, toys, and canned vegetables. So will these trends continue? That's the question. Experts say the tariffs that President-elect Donald Trump has proposed against U.S. trading partners could have an impact. And we are now just hours away from 2025. Many of you may be vowing to do something different in the new year, whether you're resolving to be healthier, happier, or have a specific goal in mind. Staying motivated to achieve those goals can be hard. One Cleveland Clinic psychologist spoke with us about why habit stacking is a great way to make sure your resolutions stick.
So, for example, if you drink your cup of coffee every morning routinely, and you want to start getting moving and exercising, that very next behavior after you have your cup of coffee, maybe go for a walk, do some stretches, do some yoga.
And she adds that you should also focus on process goals, not outcome goals. For instance, aim to eat a serving of veggies with each meal rather than to lose 20 pounds. Practice self-compassion. She says it'll help you bounce back from setbacks. And get support. Sharing goals with others can help keep you accountable. The new year is a time for celebration and a time to pay close attention to your heart. Medical reporter Liz Bonas shares why cardiologists say the last week of December is especially dangerous.
Hey there, everybody. As we celebrate the new year, cardiologists have a word of warning. It is the perfect time of year to eat, drink, and be merry, and to have a heart event.
How are you?
Dr. Puvi Shishaya says, as an interventional cardiologist at Ohio's Christ Hospital Heart and Vascular Center,
we do see an uptick in heart events in the cold season. We can't necessarily pinpoint why.
His mission, to prevent any heart event. A heart attack or sudden cardiac arrest can be life-changing for those who experience them.
This past Friday, I had a 3-way bypass, and so it was successful.
Michael Bouts had heart surgery to mend his heart earlier this year and is now recovering well. But his event serves as a word of caution this time of year. A study from the American Heart Association's journal Circulation reports more people die from heart attacks the last week in December than at any other time of year.
It may be a little bit of overindulgence, food, and could be the infections, flu, COVID, all this stuff, increased heart attack risk, heart failure risk, and just being, not going out, getting the exercise you need, may be causing some of these increased incidence of heart disease.
To lower your risk, watch your blood pressure numbers, know that alcohol influences heart event risk, and know the early warning signs of a heart attack. Now, the CDC does report the most common symptoms of a heart attack include chest pain or discomfort, feeling weak or lightheaded or faint. You can have pain or discomfort in your jaw, neck, or back, or even in one of your arms or shoulders. Many also experience shortness of breath. If you do feel any of these, it is suggested you head to the nearest emergency room or call 911. We do hope you have a healthy, happy new year. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonas reporting.
Okay, Liz, thank you. And some of the most popular Ford pickup trucks are being recalled. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says a part may not have been secured properly during assembly. A nut could come loose, causing the driver to partially lose control of the truck. The recall impacts 2023 and 2024 F-150 Lightnings. Dealers will make any necessary replacements. And tonight, one of Hollywood's former it couples says finally settled what was one of the most contentious divorces in Hollywood. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have agreed on the terms of a divorce that began 8 years ago, sparking a hard-fought legal battle. Jolie and Pitt were together more than 8 years and became parents to 6 children before they married in 2014. This week, the two entered a written agreement regarding their property and marital rights. In the document, Jolie gave up rights to receive any spousal or partner support. And coming up, the top priorities for officials as bird flu spreads to hundreds of thousands of animals in one state. We'll be right back. This is the National Desk America's News Now. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you, from the Amazon workers going back to the office in Washington to the bird flu detected in Ohio. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start with a smash and grab robbery caught on camera in California.
Monday morning at 4:13, a security camera spots 2 cars outside Drip on Drip at River Park Shopping Center in North Fresno. Seconds later, glass begins to fly. A white Hyundai crashes through the front window, knocking down the Christmas tree. 3 young men run into the store and start grabbing things off the shelves. A 4th thief then enters the picture, all 4 wearing masks and hoodies. The owner of Drip on Drip, Roman Gonzalez, says he learned from the last break-in 13 months ago.
I had to put in place some more security measures, and that also has us having closing and opening procedures thoroughly, so we secure the items in a locked area.
We take all the necessary precautions to make sure there's no infected product that leaves that premise.
The ODA says the virus was found in the poultry last Friday. All of the infected chickens were found at a single farm. Ohio State veterinarian Dr. Dennis Summers says symptoms include not eating or drinking as much, discoloration to the face or head, and being lethargic.
And amongst, our commercial poultry and turkey, it's highly infectious and highly fatal, right? So it does move through poultry populations relatively swiftly.
Dr. Summers says no products that have left the farm were contaminated. He explained to me the next steps and top priorities.
Our activities right now are focused on containing the virus on the premise right now and making sure that we're following the procedures in order to get the birds depopulated and then get them properly disposed of, all while not further transmitting that virus off of the farm.
A survey of Amazon employees when the new back-to-office policy was announced found 9 out of 10 dissatisfied with it, according to Blind.
I've heard from many other colleagues that they don't want to come.
But Hardik Chug tells me he's okay with it.
I like to come to office 5 days a week because at home, I kind of feel like I'm not that much productive to be at home.
Like the office space is really good, and I do feel that I'm productive here too.
Even though Amazonians lined up at local food trucks for lunch, those local businesses still not back to their pre-pandemic business.
We definitely look forward to them coming back 5 days a week. I understand that's not going to be convenient for everybody, but as far as our industry goes, it is going to be a big boost.
Coming up, a faux fashion accessory has gone viral. When we come back, why the big box retailer offering it can't keep it stocked. Scores of ladies are walking into the new year with some faux fashion on their arms. Here's a look at the purse that Walmart cannot keep on its shelves. It's a Hermes Birkin bag dupe that's been selling out ever since it went viral on social media. This leather bag, nicknamed the Workin instead of the Birkin, retails for $78, a far cry from the minimum $7 grand some are paying for the real deal. One Los Angeles company has specialized Birkin bags priced as high as $400,000. So needless to say, it's been a huge hit among financially conscious consumers. And hey, it doesn't look too bad. Looks like the real deal. And for those of you looking to enjoy more at the sky than fashion, you're also in for the treat. A geomagnetic storm could make the northern lights visible across the northern fringe of the U.S. tonight. The northern lights are the flashes of color that appear in the night sky, usually seen in the northernmost regions of the planet. Experts say folks in parts of Washington and the Pacific Northwest, along with Midwestern states like Wisconsin and Michigan, along with New England's New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, will likely get a glimpse. Best views are away from big city lights, and you can track their arrival to your area on the website of NOAA's Prediction Center. That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. We do invite you to join us again this evening for more coverage of America's top stories. For those of you heading out, stay safe. Happy New Year. Enjoy yourself. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching.